Video game consoles have changed a great deal from their inception. Gone are the days of singularly focused basic gaming. Today, the gaming console realm runs the gamut from basic consoles that take you down memory lane to ultra-portable gaming rigs to insanely powerful offerings for high-res HDR and virtual reality gaming. And the growth seems to never stop. If you're in the market for a new gaming console right now, check out the best options available from the likes of Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, and get ready to get your gaming on. As always, all the links to the mentioned product are in description for more information, and up-to-date prices, don't forget to check them out. Starting our list with the Sony PlayStation 4 Pro. The PS4 Pro's design is derivative of the standard PS4 that preceded it, though we wouldn't say that it's an exact copy. Actually, a common running joke about the PlayStation 4 Pro is that it looks like two PS4s stacked one on top of each other. As a result, the PS4 Pro takes up way more space than its predecessor. Sony also did a bit of work on the interior. The 8 Jaguar cores of the AMD processor are now clocked at 2.1 GHz instead of 1.6 GHz. RAM capacity remains the same with 8 GB of GDDR5, but it is now running up to 218 GB per second against 176 GB per second for the standard PS4. The hard drive, at 1 TB, has 500 more gigabytes than the standard version. There is also a more powerful 802.11 AC Wi-Fi antenna, as well as a Bluetooth 4.0 receiver transmitter. As for the controller on the PS4 Pro, some changes were noted over the predecessor, though it still is, at its heart, a DualShock 4 controller. The touchpad has a light bar to tell you which player you are, and the buttons feel a lot lighter and more responsive. The switch between Bluetooth and wired mode is also seamless in the controller. The performance of the PS4 is high enough that, if you play VR games or have a 4K TV, you'll notice the difference over other screens. The data transfer process from an earlier PS4 is easy, as all you need to do is hook them together with an Ethernet cable. It can, however, be a slow process. That said, this console's increased processing power improves the performance across the table, including HDR, 4K, and VR games, which are growing each year. That improved performance can come in a variety of ways. Either you have games playing at 30 FPS at a 4K resolution, or you have more refined textures, or the ability to play a 1080p game at a higher FPS. Those with 1080p resolution TV screens may not be able to enjoy the improvements meant for 4K TV owners, but they will enjoy better frame rates in their favorite games. Those with 4K television will see the biggest advantages by far, including older games playing in native or upscaled 4K with HDR. The VR experience is also bound to improve with the PS4 Pro. They run better on this console, and titles with PS4 Pro mode activated look better and have faster frame rates. At number 2, it's Xbox One S. The Xbox One S is a feat of engineering that wows anyone who decides to give it a try. It manages to put a powerful power supply and a 2 TB hard drive in a chassis that's at most 40% as large as its predecessor, the Xbox One. The only sad part is that we may never know just how Microsoft did it. It probably has a lot to do with rearranging the parts on the inside and making for better airflow, so the entire console is more densely packed, but also more efficiently cooled. It might also include employing Santa's elves and a bit of magic. The console also has an interesting overhaul over its predecessor in terms of the exterior design. Physical buttons have replaced capacitive for turning the console on and ejecting game discs, and the USB 3.0 ports have been moved to the front face of the console. Unfortunately, the Kinect port from its predecessor is conspicuously missing. You'll need to buy a separate adapter if you want to use Kinect. The console is normally only sold in white, so you don't get much variety there. So at first blush, there aren't many style options. However, they do have special edition consoles in different color schemes that coincide with game releases. You can also have a third-party skin installed on your Xbox, and controllers can be customized through Microsoft's Xbox Design Lab program. Microsoft said that the chip on the Xbox One S is the same as that of the Xbox One that preceded it. However, the disk drive is Ultra HD Blu-ray, capable of 4K and HDR. The Xbox One S does very well with Ultra HD televisions, though we wouldn't put it on the same level as the PS4 Pro. It is capable of 4K resolution, either upscaling games for you or offloading that task to your television. It also loads content much faster, even at the higher resolution, than the Xbox One, which was slower despite dealing with standard resolutions. If you use your gaming console to stream apps like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Video, and YouTube, then you will be happy to know that each of these apps has a 4K version running on the Xbox One S. When it comes to games, they look much better than they do on the Xbox One, even though they're only upscaled on the One S. This console will run your favorite titles smoothly, ensuring a great experience. Something interesting to note, however, is that Microsoft does not intend to make any exclusives for the Xbox One S. The Xbox One S controller looks almost exactly the same as the Xbox One controller. However, it natively supports Bluetooth and is the first Microsoft controller to have this support. That means you can use it not only on your console but on your PC as well. The One S controller also has a textured grip, which makes it more comfortable to hold for long stretches, unlike the controller to the Xbox One. It also has a more powerful wireless antenna that makes it possible to sit farther away from the television than you could from the Xbox One. It comes in many different color variations, as well as in some really cool limited designs like the Cyberpunk 2077 edition. Older Xbox One controllers will also work on this console, which is great for those who are used to them. The only thing I would have preferred on this new controller is rechargeable batteries. At number 3, it's Nintendo Switch. Take a look at the Nintendo Switch and you'll realize it's trying to do many things at the same time. Nintendo is trying to do something unique, much like they have done before. After all, these are the same guys that brought us 3D without 3D glasses on the Nintendo 3DS, motion-controlled gaming on the Wii, and now a hybrid console on the Switch. Understandably, when you set out to trailblaze like that, expectations and risks are going to be very high. However, the Nintendo Switch certainly found its target, and over the years the sales have taken a significant uptake. Those are a lot of accessories, and they all come with great quality construction and ergonomics. The whole setup is not only novel, but also has a great cool factor. The handheld mode, with its analog controls, is something like the PlayStation Vita. The screen resolution is way better, though, at 720p. In fact, it's the best screen resolution I've seen on a handheld console yet. The Joy-Cons themselves have quite a lot of functionality built into them. The right hand has the A, B, X, and Y buttons that Nintendo has used since its SNES days, and a rather awkwardly placed analog stick. There's also a start button that's shaped like a plus. On the left we have a minus button that's the select button, a share button for taking screen grabs, an analog stick, a D-pad and 2 shoulder buttons. The console mode requires docking the console in order to connect it to your TV. The console actually does the viewing transfer rather seamlessly from the handheld screen to the television screen, without even needing you to pause your game. The Nintendo controllers themselves are jacks of all trades. They have lots of different configurations, though they're not all the most comfortable. My greatest niggle with these was the rather awkwardly placed right analog stick, which needs some finger acrobatics to operate effectively. The library on the Switch, comparable in size and popularity to those of the PlayStation and Xbox, is still growing every year. In fact, compared to what Nintendo has offered for previous consoles, it is probably the most diverse. A major drawback of the Switch is that it isn't nearly as powerful as either the Xbox or the PlayStation. It definitely won't support 4K game playing. The handheld will give you 720p, while connecting it to the TV will give you a max resolution of 1080p. However, this is good enough if you're not particularly looking for the latest visual specs on the market. Overall, the Switch is a great console for portability and versatility, and also if you don't absolutely need power or the latest selection of the most popular games. If you're comfortable with Nintendo exclusives and indie games, then this should be an okay console for you. At number 4, it's Nintendo Switch Lite. The main difference between the Switch Lite and its sibling, the Switch, is that the Switch Lite can only be played in handheld mode. You can't dock it for use with the television. As a result, it is lighter and more compact than the Switch. It comes with a smaller screen, at 5.5 inches compared to the Switch's 6.2-inch screen, but maintains the same 720p display. A direct result of this greater compactness is that the Nintendo Switch Lite feels much more comfortable as a handheld than the Switch. This is especially important if you have small hands. That said, I still think the most comfortable handheld Nintendo device is the 3DS, which isn't as wide as either the Switch or the Switch Lite. The controllers on the Switch Lite are also fixed. So no Joy-Cons with this device. On the Switch, the Joy-Cons were removable so you could dock them to a central hub for use with the TV. Here, the controllers are fixed in place. I would have called them fixed Joy-Cons, except they don't have all of the controls that the Joy-Cons had. In place of the directional buttons is a D-pad which, to be honest, I prefer. It feels more natural to operate. Both the Switch and Switch Lite allow Bluetooth and wireless connectivity, though I have to point out that you still cannot connect wireless headphones to them. They also both allow for external storage via microSD. The 32 GB internal storage can therefore be easily extended. In terms of performance, there is very little difference between the Switch and the Switch Lite. The only major differences I experienced were that the Switch has a slightly longer battery life, doesn't have the HD rumble feature that the Switch has, and lacks an IR motion camera. You also can't play games built exclusively for TV on the Switch Lite. It only works with games that support handheld mode. Okay, maybe I should take that back. Technically, you can play games that don't support handheld mode if you buy Joy-Cons separately, plus their charging grip. You'll even be able to use HD rumble. But that does involve spending more money, and I'm not sure it would be that comfortable to use the Joy-Cons in TV mode with a screen as small as that of the Switch Lite. It sounds like a bit of a stretch compared to just buying the Switch. At number 5, it's Asus ROG Phone 2. That's right, this is a phone that's also a gaming console. The value is in the specs, like the fact that the ROG 2 comes with an octa-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 Plus processor. Ultimately, it can reach up to just shy of 3 GHz processing power, meaning this phone can play some games better than even some mid-level gaming rigs on a budget. But there's lots of other hardware that makes this gaming phone worth your time. For instance, it comes with a whopping 12 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, packed into a chassis so small that it can still fit in most pockets. All that RAM ensures fast response times and rapid loading of modern games. The included 1 TB of storage means you can have multiple games installed at the same time, too. Add to all that a 6.6-inch display capable of projecting at 2340 by 1080 resolution at 120 Hz, and you've got a great piece of gaming hardware on your hands. It even features a 1 millisecond response time, so you'll be able to play competitively in many of your favorite games without suffering compared to those on traditional consoles. We also really like that you can play a plethora of top-tier titles on this gaming phone. Over 100 games are available at 120 FPS, including several modern classics like Minecraft, Temple Run 2, and more. It's a little unfortunate that several Battle Royale titles, such as Fortnite, are locked to 60 FPS, so they can't take advantage of all that this phone has to offer. As a piece of gaming hardware, the ROG 2 features several vents to keep the interior cool, as the hardware works to deliver a phenomenal visual experience. A 6000 mAh battery provides enough juice for about 2 days worth of use before you need to recharge, even when you factor in the 120 Hz refresh rate. Recharging this gaming phone is pretty easy thanks to the side charging slot, and there's an additional USB-C charging port on the bottom, alongside a headphone jack. Other ports include a dual nano SIM card slot, plus volume and power buttons on the right-hand side of the device. It's ultimately a pretty easy phone to use. Furthermore, the ROG 2 comes with a durable aero case that can improve heat dissipation without compromising the overall integrity of the device. Since it comes with the purchase, you don't need to waste time picking up a dedicated case after the fact. Even with all the excellent gaming-focused features, this comes with a pretty solid dual camera as well. The camera can take 48 or 24 MP photos, depending on whether you use the rear or front lenses, and it's compatible with most GSM networks, including several staples like AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and more. All in all, the ROG 2 is essentially a small gaming PC you can keep in your pocket for quite a hefty asking price. If you can stomach the cost, it's a great way to enjoy a more mobile gaming experience without sacrificing graphics or processing quality too much. And with that, we come to the end of our review. Whether you're getting a console for yourself or for someone else, whether you deeply enjoy gaming or you're just looking for something to help you stave off boredom while you're at home, the solid consoles in this review should keep you and yours highly entertained for a long time. No matter what your tastes, I'm pretty sure you'll find something here that works well for you, and I'm confident you'll enjoy it. Until next time, have fun.